Hello, thanks for listening to Spooky Mountain. I'm Steph.
And I'm Jordi, and thank you so much for tuning in to our sixth, I did know this. Sixth.
Wait, six?
Before we started
Sixth
recording,
episode.
I was like, okay, remember that this is the insert number here, recording.
It's like we've been doing it for years.
Oh, it feels like it. I'm always so excited.
A month and a half, which is pretty, well, it's longer really for us because we've been
So I was actually thinking the other day that I should look back on like our original messages where I reached out to you to.
I don't even know when that was.
I don't know, but we should have a look. It's been months.
The official
anniversary.
And
You and I, we chat at least once every day, pretty much, working out podcast stuff and
got to
figure it out.
Yep.
And all the exciting things that we're working on and the social media stuff and the audio and because for anyone listening, we've been working on new audio. So hopefully this is
we're like audio technicians by this point. The stuff we've
sound
learned
engineers
is incredible. Yes, sound engineers. I knew it was going to be a little bit of making sure the settings are all good, but you guys don't even understand. No. We have opened up a whole new world.
We've spent nights and days and hours figuring this out, but hopefully
screaming into our microphones, testing,
doing our tests. So hopefully this should be our first episode where our sound quality is better.
Yeah,
because we've been using a new program, but this is kind of the first episode where we've really kind of got it under wraps.
Yes, so hopefully finalised.
Hopefully. So I hope everyone enjoys it and appreciates the time that we've put in to improve our audio quality. Yeah. But just quickly, I guess we'll mention our social media, because we're very present on some social media. We're very present on Instagram and Facebook mostly. You can find us at Spooky Mountain Podcast on those. And we've got a Twitch, we've got a TikTok, and we have a Twitter. All three of those are dormant at the moment until...
But we got the name Spooky Mountain Podcast. Yeah. That is ours.
You should follow us on there anyway, even though we don't do anything just yet. We will eventually.
Yeah. We got a few subscribers on YouTube.
Yep. Yes, we do. Which is kind of very exciting. I wasn't expecting much attention on YouTube because we basically just have we have our episodes on there and your really cool video that you made with it, but it's not like you can see us in the video. So I wasn't really expecting too many views on those, but
it's quite a decent amount of views. I was like, we'll probably get them mostly on platforms, on app platforms, but we're getting quite a few on YouTube, which is awesome. So I'm glad you guys like looking at the visuals, and you're probably using audio captions as well, which is really helpful. That's the main reason why we did it.
Totally,
so definitely.
That is the main reason. And speaking of captions, I'm actually I have been thinking recently that because we have our own website, which you can find through our link tree. But on our website, I am thinking about adding transcription, so transcribing our episodes, so people who are hearing impaired or just want to read through our episodes, they can go do that. I thought that would be really nice.
That's awesome.
And inclusive and fun for everyone.
Yeah, that's a really good idea. That would be awesome. So check out our website as well.
Yes.
But we also are doing a bonus episode
for
Halloween. Yeah, spooky season. So our normal episodes come out on Wednesday and Halloween sits on a Friday.
Yep.
So we will be doing an extra episode. Yeah. So it'll come out 2 days after.
Yeah. So you guys are going to be getting 2 episodes that week because we'll be doing our regular episode that we usually do, and then our bonus episode, and we're doing some special stuff for that. Don't want to ruin the surprise about what exactly is happening.
Yeah.
But it's going to be lots of fun.
Will be something.
It'll be fun.
Yeah. How have you been, Jordi? What's been going on?
Look, I've been good. I'm currently very sleep deprived because of my daughter, but that's okay. That just makes for more fun for me. But no, I'm good. I've been working on my story. I've been kind of creeping myself out a little bit this week, writing this one, because I kind of got the chance. So my partner, I've already kind of told Steph this, but my partner, someone at his work tested positive for COVID. And so my partner had to sleep in the shed until he got his test results back. And so I took that night to write my story. And so I was in the house alone.
Make the most of it.
I had the lights out and I got the creepy vibes going, and I just scared the shit out of myself. It was pretty creepy.
That's it. That's some people's nightmares, some people's
fun
best
time.
Night. For me, that's just what I love to do.
I love to do it, but I do tend to regret it afterwards. Like, I love getting into that creepy, like, watching a scary movie or like a ghost hunting thing, and then I'll go to bed and I just can't sleep until like 4 or 5 in the morning. Bed. Yeah. But how are you going, Steph? How has your week been?
It's been good. It's been pretty interesting. The other day, so on the weekend, I was having a little nana nap because I'm over 30 now. Well, 30 on the dot, but I sleep now.
Yes,
and I was like, oh God, I'm exhausted. I've got to have a little nap.
Oh, it's midday, time for sleep.
It was literally like, I don't know, 2:30. And I went to bed. I was just lying there. And then I woke up to my partner just going, Dylan, is his name. I woke up. He didn't say that. That would be scary. He came into the room screaming my name, Steph, and was going, there's a helicopter on top of the house and they got a megaphone and they're screaming and they're telling everyone to stay indoors. And
oh my God.
And he's like, get up, quick, get out. And I was like, oh my God. And like ran outside. I literally just had like my undies on and like a t-shirt. And I was
That's so exciting.
Ran to the backyard and there was a helicopter. It looked like it was just over the house. Dylan said it was, and then it moved a few blocks away, and it was so low, and it was going right over the house. And it was going for 2 hours, and
oh my God,
we couldn't hear really what they were saying. It was Dylan said when it came over the house, it was like, stay indoors, you must stay inside, blah blah blah. And I was on Google like crazy trying to figure out what the hell was going on. I was like, what is happening? This is insane. And we're like, okay, we got to turn on the news on the TV. And maybe at 5 o'clock there'll be the news. And we're waiting, and then we couldn't see anything. And
that's pretty intense.
Yeah, and I was joining like all the community pages on Facebook.
The groups. Yeah.
That's where I found my clues. And apparently there was just like some car chase, and this guy like got out of the car and he was running through the streets, and there was heaps undercover police everywhere. There was 2 helicopters.
Right.
It was crazy.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry, I thought that there was a because of COVID. I thought you were saying that like this helicopter was like, stay in your house because like of
that's
COVID
what happened.
lockdown.
Yeah, in Western Sydney.
Yeah. That's
what we thought at the start.
Okay, but it turned out to be. Oh my God, there was a madman,
and I was like, why are they like? We've been in a hotspot for months, and I was like, we haven't seen a helicopter here before. No, but then we found that they were just chasing someone, and they were like, no sticky baking. Like someone put that in the message saying they were screaming out the megaphone, no sticky baking, stay inside of your house.
It's so funny that you tell me this because maybe like 3 nights ago at nighttime, there was a helicopter flying over like our house and houses in the other town that I live in. And I got onto my community page to try and find out what was going on, and everyone was like, oh, they're probably just because of COVID and they're just like enforcing like blah 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 blah. But it turned out there was a woman who went bushwalking and she didn't come home.
There we go.
And she went missing, and they found her the next day, but she had like broken her leg and was unable to get out of the bush.
Yeah, it would have been like a rescue helicopter. It wouldn't have been like an all black helicopter. That's when I'd be sus. I'd be like, why is there an unmarked helicopter in the skies?
I used to work a lot out at Bondi or like Dover Heights, which is kind of like beautiful area, so fucking fancy. God, I could tell you some stories.
I never even knew how fancy it was until I went there once, and I was like, "This exists." And I couldn't believe it.
It's crazy. So I worked in bush regen, so we were just kind of like shit kickers working in like the parks and stuff, and we constantly had like all these rich people walking by with like their French bulldogs, and anyway. Working on the cliffs, they were always doing like military exercises with like their hectic helicopters and stuff. But also, unfortunately, this is a place that people often fall down because the cliffs are so high and they fall into the water. And so often you would see helicopters searching for someone who's gone missing. And I was working one day and they found a body in the water. And
really?
Yes, we saw them lifted out of the water.
No way.
Yes.
Damn, you know what? That's actually, was that a few years ago?
Yeah, it was a few years ago.
Dylan was actually doing a job around there at the time, and he was, because he used to work around there heaps. Yeah, and maybe it wasn't even that because it's happened so often. But they were saying that they had to take someone out of the water, and he was like,
really sad,
very weird.
Yeah, it's because there's nothing else that they can do. Because it's
crazy
open
high
ocean, high cliff, and then houses. So all they can do is lift these.
It's a drop. If anyone doesn't know where Dover Heights is, just type in Dover Heights in Sydney, and it's
so
incredible.
Affluent. Yeah.
So just think of the people that own the banks. This is where they live.
Yes.
Own like airlines and stuff.
You know who lives there? Who we saw a couple of times. You know you know the show Underbelly, the bloke who owned a bunch of clubs in Sydney, and he was like part of the gangs, and he was like the Abraham,
Johnny Abraham.
We saw him.
Of course he lives there.
He lives there, and so his house is like, oh my God, I can't even describe what his house.
There was a sinkhole there I saw once.
Was there?
Someone had a sinkhole just appear in their front yard.
Oh, no
It was when
way.
my boyfriend was doing gardening there because he's done so many jobs. And he was like, and we didn't live anywhere near the area, but we just drove out on the weekend just to look at this person's front yard.
Out of all the places to get a sinkhole, I'm a little bit glad that it was at Dover Heights.
Anywhere else.
Where all the rich motherfuckers are.
Spooky.
So, Steph, what do you have for us this week?
Yeah.
What is your story like?
Pretty weird one, actually. It's probably one of my favourite UFO stories ever. I really love this story.
Exciting.
It's just so weird. But yeah, it's just it's one encounter about something that a family experienced together. And yeah, it's a very old story, and it's been around for ages, and I thought, look, now's the time. I'm going to tell it, and I hope everyone enjoys it because it's really fun. But yeah, and your one sounds spooky. So what's yours about?
Yeah, mine's like, so I've been wanting to do like a typical kind of like haunted location story for a while, but I do find it quite hard. I think I've mentioned this to you in the past, and I find it hard sometimes kind of like researching kind of classic ghosty haunted houses and stuff, because when you look up information on these locations, all you find is people who have been there being like, there's a ghost that appears. You hear like walking all the time. You hear like doors shutting, and that is just like not fun to listen to, like from a like storytelling point of view. So I finally found like a good story that I had heard of this location before, but I hadn't really like looked too far into it. But like researching it, there's just so much history behind this place. also. So
yeah, it's really cool. I can't wait to hear it.
Yeah, it's very spooky. And it also got me thinking about like our house, because it's not a house. I'll just quickly say now it's a hospital. This location is a hospital.
Okay.
But just researching this story throughout the week, it made me think a lot about like our house that we lived in and the ghosts there and the stuff that was seen there, and it just kind of made me think about if you would ever go back there. Do you think that you would ever go back to the house alone to spend the night if you ever had the chance?
I'd go back in the day. Nighttime, I don't
alone,
think I could...
remember? Alone.
Yeah, alone, yeah. No, I don't think I could do it, to be honest. No. It's pretty scary.
It is.
Yeah, I don't. I've got such good memories there, but I also have really scary memories. And being alone there, and are we talking about furniture in the home or not?
Yeah, because it makes I think there is such a difference. Furniture versus no furniture. Like,
because I can cuddle up in a bed or put my head in between the couch cushions the whole time.
Isn't that funny? Just thinking about a house, like a spooky or like haunted house with no furniture is so much worse.
Yeah.
Like,
it echoes as well without furniture.
Maybe that's what it is. Maybe it's the echoing and just the...
That could be it.
Maybe it's colder? No, I don't know. Maybe I don't know. I don't know. There's something about it that's a lot more spooky.
So, okay, furniture... added, let's say, I still wouldn't do it. No.
No, I couldn't do it. Either way, you wouldn't do it.
Would you do it? Would you spend another night?
Fuck, I don't know. Thinking about being alone in that house reminds me of like a horror movie or something, being in like a spooky big old mansion or something.
I feel like I'd be safer sleeping in the front yard.
Totally.
In the actual house.
Totally, yeah.
I'd freeze to death. But...
I think also because the house, like there's certain corners of that house that are quite old. And so, I don't know, like there were nights when I was there alone. Like not often would I be there alone because we had like another housemate. So, yeah, there's like certain corners of the house that are still very much like the original building, like the fireplaces.
Oh, yes.
And stuff. So whenever I was like around the fireplaces and kind of like that section of the house that's like next to the kitchen, I felt quite spooky in those areas. Yeah. I just feel like it was a lot more older.
Yes. Yeah, there's a lot of parts of the house that have been renovated, and then there's some that are pretty untouched. Do you remember at the back house when you go at the back door and there's that rainforest wall and there was like a weird old stove that was just sitting out there? It was like kind of really rusty and it was like a tiny little stove and it was like plants on it.
Maybe.
It was kind of shoved into the moss wall. It was like a weird old stove. I don't know. But that was the original stove that was in the house.
From the house.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. Imagine who cooked on that stove.
She was a tiny woman. Yeah, apparently, because we spoke to the neighbour who used to know her, who my parents bought the house off, but she was this really tiny woman. So when we first bought the house, the kitchen benches were all really low and everything was like really
that was short.
Yeah.
I love that because as someone who's very short, I appreciate smaller things.
We should have kept it. If only we knew you were going to move in a few years later.
It's so selfish of you to change everything on me.
Furniture in the house. What have you done?
I read earlier today that there was a mysterious portal that opened up over a city in China.
What the fuck?
Did you hear about this?
No.
I didn't read too much about it. I want to read more, but
what?
Apparently there was like this weird portal thing that opened up over a city in China, and I saw some photos and it looks like a weird light portal thing. So,
yeah, they're calling it a portal because it looks crazy weird, like in the sky?
Yes, it looks like this anomaly. It's an anomaly. I don't know whether it's environmental. I don't know if it's paranormal, but it's very strange.
That sounds really weird. So is it videos or just photos?
I just saw photos. There's a chance that there could. I'm sure there is videos because it was like over a city, so a whole bunch of people saw it.
That's mad. Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah, I thought you'd be interested in that. Yeah. I read one article that was like a UFO portal opened up over a Chinese city. I was like, Steph will love this. Yeah. I have to tell Steph about this. Get me a plane ticket. I'm going over.
That's awesome. Oh, well, I was going to talk about, which I showed you earlier this week, a photo that my mum reminded me of.
Oh.
So, it was just because, you know, if you guys follow our social media, you would have seen a couple of pictures come up of Jordi and one of her friends. There's, like just lots of creepy faces in photos. And my mum was like, oh, my gosh, why don't you put the one up that I took a few years ago? And I'm like, what? What are you talking about? And she showed me the photo and I completely forgot. It is so crazy. So just to give a bit of background, my mum was looking to buy a new property or a bit of land a few years ago, and she was looking down the south coast of Sydney. So it's a lot of bush, not really many houses. It's all coastal land as well. So it's really beautiful. And she felt really interested in this block of land. There was no property on there or anything. It was a pretty long road up there and all bush. And she spent the first day there just taking lots of photos and walking around with a phone, just taking photos of the bush and certain areas. And then later that afternoon, she sent through the photos to me and my sisters to have a look so she could kind of talk about it. And I can't remember who pointed it out. I'm pretty sure it would have been my mum, but she probably would have just zoomed in and been like, what the fuck is this? Can you guys see this? Actually, it was my mum. Yeah, she sent us a picture and we didn't believe her because we thought it looked so ridiculous.
Yeah.
That we're like, Mum, did you get one of those like ghost apps where you can
that like imprints the image onto the photo?
We thought she did. I'm like, no, she wouldn't do that. She's like, guys, this is real.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you've shown me this photo and I got to tell you, it's weird as fuck. Like it's
creepy.
Very obviously a face.
Yes.
First of all, it's very obviously a face. Well, I'll let you explain what it is and I'll tell you my thoughts after.
Yeah, well, we looked at it and after we realized that she wasn't pranking us because she doesn't really do that. Yeah, we thought after looking at it for a while, it looks like a king. Like that's what we initially first thought because it looks like he's got like a robe, he's got something on his head, he's got clearly a beard. So that's kind of what we thought. But yeah. And what were you thinking when you looked at it?
So because you sent it to me and you were like, we think it looks like our first impressions was it looks like a king. And I can
I know there's no kings.
That's the thing. There's like no kings in Australia.
Yeah. That's just like, well, like it looks like someone that has like one of those Hunger Jacks hats on or something.
I tell you what it reminds me of is, have you seen Life of Brian?
Yeah, oh my God.
The main character from Life of Brian, like the Knights Templar, like main.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah. Because this figure, you can see a beard, and it looks like he's wearing something on his head, but it's not fully clear what it is. And you can see it's almost like he's wearing white clothes of some kind, or like it's like a cloth.
Yeah, like cloth. Or
it's so strange. But my first like thoughts on it was that it looks like a convict or something. Yeah. Because of the beard and the clothes and everything. And I wonder, I would be interested to read the history of that area in terms of convicts.
Yeah, it's pretty, I don't really know too much about the whole convict side of things because all I really know from looking up on it like a few days ago, I can only really go far back as like just at the end of the 1800s.
That's still pretty far. Yeah. That's like enough time for ghosts to
Well, it was it's called the suburb's called Coalcliff. No, Coalcliff or Coaldale? I can't remember. Right. I should probably know that.
Coal something. Something to do with coal.
But yeah, it's because there was a big coal mine there, and that's pretty much all that was there for ages. So heaps of people went there, then eventually, you know, the train station, and then a few other little things here and there. It's still really small. But there was a big landslide there at one point as well.
House
got taken down.
And like, coal mines are inherently dangerous and awful.
Yeah.
They're awful places. Yeah. Like,
no one's happy working in a coal mine.
No, it's dark and dank, and you spend your day in the dark.
Everything's horrible.
Yeah, and you're covered in soot, and it's bad for your lungs and shit. And especially back in those, in like the olden days.
Exactly. Yeah, it would have been a nightmare. So, yeah, I don't know. And apparently a lot of the houses were given to the coal miners as well.
Right,
after the coal mine closed, because I think it was bad conditions. So there you go. There we go. So, yeah, they actually got given a lot of the houses that are in the area, so they probably just died on the land. So probably was a miner.
Yeah, it was probably. Well, that's this is kind of what it looks like. It looks like a convict miner, but we'll post the photo on social media for people to look at, because it's very interesting.
Yeah, comment what you think on it, because I'm interested, because I feel like everyone gets different views when they look at it.
Yeah, we're kind of going through this thing at the moment of like ghosts and photos, because I got the urge to post a photo of myself with this, like, so since showing it to people, I've heard that because it's like a rainbow kind of smudge next to me, and the photo was taken like 10 years ago. It was like this rainbow smudge next to me, and people have been like, oh, it's a lens flare thing, which cool. It could be, totally could be a lens flare, but in the flare, you can see a full fucking face.
Yeah.
Like a nose, mouth,
It took me a while to see it, and then when my eyes set on it, I was like, dear God.
Whoa, it's so obvious. It's like a very clear profile.
It's so creepy.
Yeah. And we also had another listener or a listener send in her photo of one that she took years ago also, and that's even more compelling than
that one's
mine.
Awesome.
It's full face. Yep. I think that one is pretty amazing.
Jordi, you've completely frozen.
Hello? Steph?
Oh my God. Jordi.
What happened?
Oh my God, you just completely froze.
And so did you.
Oh, did I?
Yes.
That was wild. Yeah, it just completely froze, and I was like, Jordi.
I'm like, oh, fuck. Okay, I just had a real freak out moment because I could see you frozen.
That was so
and then
scary.
I just heard you go, oh, and I was like, is she having a stroke? Holy shit. Oh my God.
Oh.
All right, well, how about we start getting into our stories?
Sounds good.
For the week. Cool.
Yeah.
So what do you have for us?
So I'll start off with mine, as usual.
Yes, as usual.
Okay, cool. So, yeah, as I was saying, this is definitely one of my favorite UFO encounters. We're going to be going all the way back to 1955 in a small farming town called Kelly in Hopkinsville, Kentucky. Mm-hmm. So this is all going to be starting on the night of August the 21st. A large extended family arrived at the Hopkinsville police station, completely out of breath and frantic. They told the police about a terrifying siege of aliens that stormed their home, which would end up being one of the most detailed and baffling UFO counts on record.
A siege of aliens. I love that. A siege of aliens.
I got excited when I typed that out. It's like siege of aliens.
Siege of aliens.
I don't think anyone's worded it like that in any of the articles I read. I had to do it.
But it gives a very descriptive image of what it must have looked like.
It's exactly what it is. So I don't know why everyone's afraid to say it. I'm going to say it. It was a siege of aliens.
Steph's dropping the fucking truth bombs over here.
So this encounter happened on the Sutton's family farm. So they lived in an unpainted 3-bedroom house without running water, no telephone, no radio, TV, or any books. And it had been a really long, hot day, so it was still very warm outside. Now, there were a few people in the home that night, 50-year-old Glennie Lankford, who was the matriarch of the family. So she owned the home there. And her eldest son, Lucky, and his wife, Vera, came to visit with their friends, Billy Ray and June Taylor, from Pennsylvania. So these two couples...
It sounds like a traveling country music band or something.
Well, they both work in they work at a carnival together, and they had some time off. Yeah, so actually from a traveling carnival, and they were on break, and they're like, "Let's go visit."
See Ma at the family farm.
Yeah. So Billy Ray and Lucky. Now, so they were there, and then they had another brother that was there and his wife. And also Mrs. Lankford had some other younger children, aged 12, 10 and 11. And I think there was a couple other people. It's really hard to find out the exact amount, but apparently altogether there was like 11 people in this home.
Okay.
Now, around 7 p.m. after eating a really big dinner, the family decided to all settle in and play a card game. Billy Ray went into the backyard to fetch some water from the well just to fill up his glass of water. And he noticed in the sky a silvery object, quote, real bright with an exhaust all the colours of the rainbow. He then noticed it silently passed over the house, stopped in the air, then quickly dropped right to the ground. He then quickly ran back into the home to tell everyone what he had just seen, and the family thought he was playing some sort of prank, and they laughed at him.
Oh, that's horrible.
Yeah, they
that's
all
horrible.
Just completely thought he was full of shit.
Yep.
He actually... yeah, pretty much begged his wife. He was like, please, like, believe me, this is... And she just could not hold it. She was hysterical, and everyone else was just, like, rolling on the floor laughing. And he's like, yes, all right.
Bella, that is just so infuriating. Nothing worse. Imagine, especially... Sorry, I won't take too long to say this, but, like, being on a farm, what is it, 1950s, you've never seen anything like this before, and everyone's just laughing at you.
Yeah. What do you do?
Yeah.
Got to get rid of those toxic people from your life. Yeah. I'm just like, goodbye.
Good vibes only.
Yes. Not right. Oh, so, yeah, look, so they were all laughing at him, and then pretty much they just kind of went back to their card game. But it was about an hour later, and Billy Ray just kept trying to convince Lucky to come outside to the well. He was like, come on, come out. I just want to show you where this object was. I just want to show you what happened. Like, he couldn't stop talking about it. Lucky stated that he could tell that Billy Ray had definitely seen something, as he just was genuinely bothered. There was something wrong with him. It was like, nah.
Something was up. Right. Yeah.
And so he was like, okay, let's kind of go outside. So they started to get up, and they actually started to hear the dog barking outside. It was just going crazy and barking. And they're like, oh, shit. So they ran to the back door. They just stepped outside, and they noticed in the distance a strange glow and could make out a small humanoid figure about 3.5 feet tall. It had, quote, oversized head, almost perfectly round. Its arms extended almost to the ground.
Oh, what the fuck?
Its hands had talons.
That is...
And its oversized eyes glowed with a yellowish light.
Out of all the alien descriptions I have heard, this is by far the most terrifying.
I know.
I think it's the arms for me.
The arms.
And the claws, like... Yeah. Oh, and the round head. Also, all of it. It's quite scary.
Really creepy. So have you heard of this story before?
No.
You should look up the alien. So this is the stuff that I'm actually... I will post these up on the Instagram, so everyone needs to look at them on Facebook, Instagram, but Jordi, you need to have a look.
Okay.
Just while I'm talking about the rest of the story.
What should I... what's
Hopkinsville Goblin.
Hopkinsville Goblin. Let's see what Steph's talking about. Oh, okay. All right. Yes. Okay.
So this
have you ever seen Gremlins? The movie Gremlins?
Yes, yeah.
It reminds me of the Gremlins from Gremlins.
Oh.
Or Lilo and Stitch.
Yes.
The alien from Lilo and Stitch. Okay. Wow. Look at its arms. I wish I could show everyone.
Like anything else.
It's not a classic alien.
Yeah,
at all.
not at all.
No.
So everyone needs to stop and have a look.
Yeah.
So we can continue. All right. So the body gave off an eerie shimmer in the light of the night's new moon, they said, as if it was made of silver metal. And apparently around this time this was happening, their neighbour a quarter mile north of them noticed lights in the woods behind their farm, and they actually just thought that they were out searching for one of the pigs that have gotten out. So they've kind of got like a witness in a way, like, oh yeah, there was huge lights over there.
Yeah.
So of course the two men just freaked out and they both grabbed their guns. So Lucky's got the shotgun, Billy Ray's got the rifle. They started firing at the creature. They noticed its hands had now been raised up as if it were surrendering to them. It was just
those long arms and
really
long hands.
Up really high and started walking towards the back door. So directly to them with its hands up. And then while they're shooting at it, it just does some sort of backflip.
It backflips.
Literally, it does a backflip and then hobbles, gets itself back up again, and then just runs off into the distance.
Why is he backflipping? Why is this creature backflipping?
Gymnast alien.
Is it a defense response, maybe? Or
it could be. So strange. I mean, it was been shot at for a while, I can imagine, for it to keep walking towards them. But yeah, so they were like, oh my God, what is happening? So then they went back inside, and then a few minutes later, another creature appeared in the side window, which they both started shooting at again, and that also did a weird little flip and disappeared.
The second one flipped also.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
I need to get in touch with these guys.
Yeah. They're all in touch with the flipping, so something is going on here. Now,
interesting.
After this shooting, they were just sitting there silently waiting inside the house while everyone except for Lucky and the kids, so they were all in the living room just talking amongst themselves. He was just trying to keep them calm. And a figure about 3 feet tall, so pretty much another one of these things, just appeared in the doorway out of the darkness, and Mrs. Lankford just started screaming hysterically, and everyone just came running, and Billy Ray shot at the creature, and he just put a massive hole through the screen door. Now, Mrs. Lankford told a reporter, Isabelle Davis, who extensively researched this encounter, quote, "I went out in the hallway and crouched down next to Billy. When I saw one approaching the door, it looked like a 5-gallon gasoline can with a head on top and small legs. It was a shimmering bright metal like on my refrigerator."
What a weird description. Yeah. I suppose maybe, because I'm imagining like a red kind of like gasoline thing, but maybe back in the day it was probably like a circular kind of like a big silver, tin thing. Yeah. Okay.
So it gets weirder. So Billy Ray takes a step outside to look for the things. So he's actually standing under like a small porch, like a little overhanging roof, and everyone else is inside, and they're looking at him out there, and they can see this claw-like hand reach down from the roof and start about to start stroking the back of his hair. Like, little creep. Yeah. And they saw him and were like, oh my God, get him inside. And then rip him inside.
That is probably 10 times more terrifying than this claw like scratching him or grabbing him. It just like petted him.
It's so gross.
That is.
I'd rather have it grab my arm.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Me too. Yeah, that is.
It's not good.
No.
So, obviously they just dragged him inside straight away. And they were like, get inside. Oh, my God. And Lucky got his gun out and shot it. And then they watched it actually roll off the roof. But then it got up and just scampered off and just ran off into the woods.
They love their gymnastics.
Yeah. So then they noticed a pair of glowing eyes and a set of talons appear at their living room window. So another one was shot, putting another hole in their house. And Billy Ray and Lucky were out in the front yard at this point. They were looking for the creatures. So this went on for like 3-4 hours. It was such a long ordeal.
Wow. So it's not like just a quick encounter.
No. The whole encounter was probably 3-4 hours.
It's a long time.
Yeah. So Billy Ray and Lucky, they were just hanging around the front yard, seeing if we could see any more. And someone inside the house was like, quick, look in the maple tree. And all of them, so apparently all witnesses saw this. They looked up and there was one perched on a branch directly above them.
Yuck.
And they started shooting at it, and apparently it had no effect. So they just ran inside. They were like, no, go inside.
Fuck that. Yeah.
Yeah. So as you can imagine, they were really scared, and they pretty much stayed inside the home listening for any movement outside. They could hear occasional scratching on the roof, but that was pretty much about it. So, and Mrs. Lankford, so she's extremely religious. She actually thought that they were being attacked by demons. So she was inside, she was with the kids and praying with them, just absolutely freaking out.
Yeah.
As you can imagine at this time. Like, we've seen nothing like this.
No,
before.
I suppose in that era, it's kind of before the times of like sci-fi movies and
absolutely, yeah,
you know, books and shows and stuff like that. So they're not exposed to that level of.
And as well, they're a real workers' family. Like, they live on a farm.
A farm, yeah.
They're not consuming this type of stuff either. So
not at all. And I feel like
workers.
Exactly, and I feel like you'd be quite a hardened person working on a farm in those times in America, like, you know, Kentucky.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it would have been real tough back then.
Tough, yeah.
So, so at 11 p.m., the group decided to make a run for it to their cars and just go straight to the police station because what else can they do?
Yeah.
So the local police decided to get a team together before checking out the property. They ended up gathering the state police, the military police from a nearby Fort Campbell, and also a photographer from the local newspaper. So they inspected the home thoroughly and found many shell casings, bullet holes, and there was like a bit of a dent in the ground of where the creature fell off the roof, and they said it looked like the area was a bit stained and it kind of gave off like this iridescent sheen when you look at it from a different angle. But
so that kind of goes along with the accounts of it being silver, like shiny, I guess.
It's weird, and obviously they can't test it because it's in the 50s.
They don't have the evidence anymore. Yeah.
So, but yeah, so officers questioned the family members separately, but all they got was the same consistent description of the night's events. Good to note as well that they could not find any proof of drinking because according to Mrs. Langford, alcohol wasn't actually allowed in the home at all. So they were completely sober.
Yeah,
plus the children saw it too.
And I feel like this is an important thing. Not that like alcohol makes you hallucinate, but I feel like it's you know, important to note kind of like where the family was at in terms of like substances and that kind of thing.
They just finished dinner. You know, they're just playing some cards. They weren't
religious.
Maggot in the house.
No.
But yeah, so as the police couldn't find much evidence of what had happened, they left. And between 2:30 a.m. and dawn, the creatures returned.
Oh, sneaky.
Yes. So Mrs. Lankford said that while she was trying to sleep, she could see one glowing by her bedside window with its claw-like hand on the windscreen.
Oh,
so it was just
those hands
up at the window.
And glowing. What, by the moon? Do you know?
Yeah, glowing. Like, I don't know. I was like, what do you mean glowing? It didn't say eyes. It just said the whole thing was glowing.
Yeah. Okay.
Mm-hmm. So the following day, police investigators returned to look for evidence of a saucer landing, footprints, trails of blood, or scratch marks on the roof, but they didn't see anything like that. All the witnesses as well, so they were interviewed by Bud Ledwith, who was a local radio station employee, and made drawings based on their accounts. So that's what I'll be posting. The adults were away from the farmhouse all day, so were unable to coordinate with each other. So as you can imagine, they were quite impressed with how accurate and consistent their stories were. Spot on, which they didn't expect because obviously it's so crazy.
Yeah.
And this encounter eventually attracted the attention of Air Force UFO Investigation Program, Project Blue Book. However, they reported that they only visited Fort Campbell, which is where the military police came from on the first night.
Such a shame after bringing in the big guns.
Yeah.
It's like
Alan J. Hynek was there.
Yeah, that's...
It's like,
what? Why? Why would they... That's
Makes
weird.
no
I wonder why, because like, I feel like if it was a different part of the government or the military, etc., it could be passed off as like, oh, they just did it because they kind of wanted to like hide, like to cover stuff up. But with this particular...
It's so strange.
You would think that they would want all the information and all the evidence as much as possible, you know.
Yeah, they only interviewed the military. That was it. Not even the police or anything.
Shit.
So, ufologist Isabelle Davis, who I mentioned before, she has by far conducted the most thorough investigation into this. She created a 200-page report with detailed maps and drawings, all sorts of records, summaries of similar accounts from around the world as well, and heaps of interviews with the family members and the police as well. And Police Chief Russell Greenwell told investigators, quote, "These aren't the kind of people who normally run to the police for help. What they do is reach for their guns." Yet here they were.
I understand that. Like, I don't know. I understand that sentiment of like, these are, as I said before, like hardened farm folk.
Yeah.
And I feel like there's a general distrust of the police. In, you know,
they don't need
kinds
them.
Of, they don't need them.
They've got their guns.
They've got their shotties. Like, I
What's
mean,
the point?
What else do they need? Yeah,
so the police definitely would have seen this. They would have been like, wait, why are you coming here? Okay.
Yeah.
And also when they got to the police station, one of the guys had a pulse of 140 beats per minute.
Whoa.
So they actually did a test, It was big. Crazy. They were hysterical. A few more days down the track, radio stations and newspapers had been reporting the incident, including the New York Times. So hundreds of people flocked to the farm where this all happened. And the Suttons farm, it always had a no trespassing sign at the front, which pretty much did nothing because everyone just walked into the property.
No. That's really infuriating.
I know. Hundreds of them. So the family, of course, they started charging them to enter the property. So 50 cents to enter the grounds, $1 for a bit of information, and $10 for pictures. Yeah. And now, of course, they have been blasted for trying to collect money out of the situation because they're like, oh, you did this for money.
Oh, yeah,
but as if. Like,
no, good on them. Good on them for charging people.
There's people in there anyway. It's your
literally
property.
Trespassing onto their property, like, and ignoring signs. Like, charge that shit.
100%. And so the tourist investigators and stories, they just kept coming, and the family felt harassed and made fun of all the time. And the story just kept changing all the time, and they were just getting so sick of it. So within 10 days of the incident happening, they actually just packed up and moved away without telling anyone. And later in 2006, the accumulated evidence was reviewed by Joe Nickell, who was a researcher for the Skeptical Inquiry and self-professed paranormal investigator. But he wrote an article detailing his thoughts on the entire encounter, stating that they could have seen a small meteor, which would explain the bright light, and the creatures were actually the great horned owl. So these owls could have been mistaken for aliens as they've got long wings, which could have been seen as the long arms with claws.
I don't think so. I don't think so. I don't know what this owl looks like, but I don't think so.
I have no idea what the owl looks like, and I'm like, no.
No, that's not it.
Yeah. But these owls as well, they're also known to be highly aggressive when defending their nests. But a lot of investigators aren't actually on board with that claim because the creatures never seem to be hostile. They just seem to be curious.
And are these owls known to backflip? I mean, these creatures were pretty good with their gymnastics. I don't know of any owls that can backflip.
And glow. This is weird. But yeah, so they just seem chill, these things. They're just curious, poking through the window. Curious, they just look terrifying. I mean, anyone would probably shoot at it if it's running with your hands up like that.
Yeah, they do. This is like, I guess it's easy to get the impression that maybe they want to cause you harm because they look fucking terrifying. But they're just curious. They're just scratching at your window, watching you sleep. It's all good. They're just curious.
It's all right. But yeah, a lot of questions came out about the men and pretty much saying that they're exaggerating and they, were intoxicated and everything. But as I said before, there's literally no alcohol in the home ever, and they weren't even allowed to swear in the home. So it was real straight edge. Yep. And when Isabelle Davis spoke to Mrs. Lankford, she stated that she was a very matter-of-fact woman, no nonsense, matriarch, and really there was no reason to lie. They were doing fine. They never really, they lived a very simple life. There wasn't a reason to be famous or anything like that. They all seemed happy. They were just, doing their thing. So, yeah, it's a pretty bizarre encounter, but I don't know. I completely believe what happened. Like, I feel like that they got stormed in, something happened, but I don't know if it was aliens.
Don't know what it was.
I just feel like that they, I know what they, I feel like I trust them with the experience that they had, but who knows what it was.
Yeah. I love this, like, what's the way, like the way of looking at a story like this in that kind of way. It's like, yes, I believe that something did happen, but what was it that happened? I love that kind of like matter of fact viewing of like information.
You can trust the people enough. You can understand where they're coming from, but it's like, I don't know. It's an alien. I mean,
it could be. Could be. But who knows? Like, I think
not owls.
There's definitely not fucking owls. Like, if it could be something else, but I don't think it's owls. Like, I don't know. And there's parts of, for example, this story, there's parts of the story that you can kind of take away and examine. So it's like these people have never consumed, probably had never consumed like excessive media on like UFOs and aliens, but they said that it was like silent, like the UFO or like the thing that was above their house was silent and flashing colors, which is heard today with UFO sightings.
That's right. This is 1955.
That was just wild.
Like the 70s is really when it became worldwide about UFOs and everything.
Yeah, 1950s is early, and just the background of the family, like very religious, non-drinkers, matter of fact, simple, like humble folk, and the fact that they went to the police, and I don't know, I find this really interesting. I love this story. I'd never heard of it before.
Hey?
I really like it. I just can't believe that these things were backflipping. And
I know. It's just, it doesn't even need to be in the story. Like, it's interesting enough, but it's like, okay, and they backflip.
Backflipping. It's just like, what are the reasons for them to do that? I'm sure like there's some kind of reason for it, but yeah, I really, really like this story because it's so weird.
It's great. I can't wait till everyone sees the photos.
The
pictures, the drawings and stuff.
The drawings. Something that like struck me about the drawings is the ears, because they're like kind of up and pointy, and what you hear of like regular kind of alien encounters is no ears. Mm-hmm. And so this is almost like it's like a alien gremlin mashup.
Yeah.
Almost.
It's really strange. There's nothing like it.
What do you think? Do you think that like it was aliens?
See, if they never mentioned the whole light of the spaceship, I probably think it was some sort of weird cryptid creature, like a goblin kind of thing.
Oh, true. Okay.
But as soon as they talk about the spaceship, then it's like, okay. But then, it's all connected somehow anyway, I believe.
It is,
like, I feel like all cryptids, aliens, ghosts, everything. It's all it's coming from different dimensions, Yeah,
it's all connected somehow. I also like that there was, like, with this sighting, it wasn't just, like, a couple of people in a family. It was, like, a whole bunch of people seeing it, 11 with kids as well.
2 cars, and they all just came screaming at the police station. And
and it was a siege of aliens. It's very interesting. I love that story. Thanks so much, Steph, for that one.
No worries. My pleasure. Anytime.
That was a lot of fun. It's quite different to my story that I have coming up.
So I need a good creep.
Yeah, it's definitely a creep.
Okay, good.
There's a bit of like background history to this one.
Yeah.
Also, so that kind of makes it a bit interesting. Also, have you ever heard of Waverly Hills Sanatorium?
I think I have, but I don't really know why. It sounds familiar.
Yeah, so in terms of like ghost hunting and the paranormal, it's like the golden beacon.
Okay. That's probably why all the ghost hunting shows I've watched, they've gone there.
Yeah, pretty much every ghost hunting show has been there.
Okay.
So it's quite revered in the world of the paranormal. So on July 26th, 1910, Waverly Hills Sanatorium opened to treat patients suffering from tuberculosis. In 1926, so about 16 years later, the original wooden framed 2-story building was renovated to extend into a gigantic batwing style 180,000 square foot sprawling monolith that
holy shit,
still exists today. So oh my god, you just absolutely have to like see aerial shots of this building. It is almost unreal. It almost looks like it's CGI or something. It's so big. Even if it wasn't haunted, it would be amazing.
You get lost in there very fast by the sounds of it.
Oh, totally. It stands 5 stories tall and was purposely built atop a large hill in Louisville, Kentucky. So same as your story.
Kentucky episode, sorry.
Yes, the Kentucky episode. And it was built there to catch the fresh wind that blew through the area because in those days it was believed that sunshine and a nice fresh breeze for the lungs was a cure to tuberculosis, which isn't true at all. And also this was the days before the discovery of penicillin, so they didn't, have that. Being on top of the hill, which was shielded by a thicket of forests, also meant that the highly contagious patients and the exposed hospital staff were able to be quarantined away from the rest of the population with ease.
Right.
Hallways and corridors were purposely built to be open to the clean air blowing through the building, which ultimately actually made the spread of the disease so much worse in the hospital. Yeah, because it's an airborne infection.
Yeah.
And so this meant that it spread to previously not infected people in the hospital, such as nurses and doctors and orderlies, etc. Yeah, so this thing that they thought was helping was making it so much worse. Unfortunately, even electroshock therapy was used for the cases when the TB had spread to the brain, which was when cases had turned pretty severe, but this was not extremely uncommon.
No.
We still use electroshock now, but it is so much more refined and exact. Back then, they basically just fried your brain. And in this case, with tuberculosis, it was a last-ditch attempt. Pardon me. It was a last-ditch attempt to save the patient's life. But if you're getting this kind of therapy, it basically meant that you were knocking on death's door and you didn't have much longer left in this world. It was basically just like a last attempt to do
to even
something.
Think of that whole electrocution thing, to be like, we're going to save their life. It's like
and you just
destroying
frying them. These people became like completely disability essentially. Like they, not good, not good. And like we still do use it today, but it's like an exact science.
Yeah.
So at the time, 25% of deaths within America were attributed to tuberculosis, which is huge. Like huge numbers, because I'm pretty sure this is kind of like war era as well. So I know 25%. But with the introduction of the vaccine, case numbers just absolutely plummeted, and in 1961 the sanatorium was officially closed just due to lack of patients. It eventually was converted into a geriatric facility for a number of years.
Right.
So, however, it seems the pain and suffering of so many souls has left a permanent mark upon the site. Between Waverly's doors opening in 1910 and its closure as a TB treatment in 1961, it's estimated that tens of thousands of people died at Waverly Hills.
Oh, God.
There are some estimates that up to 15,000 people perished here. Death was so frequent that they used what was called the death chute, which is an underground concrete tunnel that was used to transport the bodies without the other patients seeing, as they believed.
Oh my God.
Yeah, because there were so many people dying, they believed that the other patients seeing the flow of dead bodies would lower morale and therefore hinder their recovery, which is...
That makes sense.
Totally. I agree. Like, I mean, stress
every
makes
building should have
worse.
a death chute.
Yeah, for sure. Oh my God. And this death chute is so hectic. I watched a bunch of videos, you know, of the death chute.
Do people go in it like a slide?
Yes, it's like fully downhill. So there's like stairs in it, but there's kind of like a part also. It's all super steep downhill.
This is terrifying.
Yeah, Google it. Yeah. It's very, very terrifying, and it's supposedly like very haunted.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so though all these factors are horrible, they aren't the reasons that Waverly Hills has been dubbed one of the scariest places on Earth, and also one of the most haunted places on Earth. The Sanatorium has become a literal hotbed of paranormal activity that has been investigated by world-renowned ghost hunting teams, as well as just countless hobby investigators as well, and just people wanting to tour the location.
Yeah.
It is really seen as the holy grail of haunted locations, almost guaranteeing that you will experience something paranormal when you visit this site. It was actually hard to research the real meat of the location and the most experienced phenomena there, because you have to wade through just pages and pages of visitors' own personal experiences after they've toured the sanatorium. So it's just like Yelp reviews of the location. So I had to kind of go through all that to find the real, juicy shit. Some of the spirits reported at Waverly Hills are what one might expect at such a facility that houses the tortured souls who lived out their last pain-filled days isolated from the world until disease squeezed the life out of them. Visitors hear the laboured coughs echoing through the long corridors and glimpse their pale, sunken faces lurking in the shadows.
Ooh.
Creepy.
Yeah.
But these spirits are not alone. Visitors often report glimpses of ghostly doctors and nurses in the buildings as well. Most noticeably, a man in a long white doctor's coat and headwear rushing through the walls of the building.
Oh, I hate that.
I hate that also. That's very like, it reminds me of like American Horror Story or something with like the, but perhaps they are still just caring for the diseased and infected spirits who remain lingering in the hospital. Even volunteers who are now currently working with the owners towards the restoration of the building experience ghostly sounds, slamming doors. They see lights turning on in the building where there just shouldn't be any lights. They have objects thrown at them. They were struck by unseen hands. They've seen apparitions in doorways and corridors and just so much more. Other than these type of general paranormal types of occurrences, there are a large handful of paranormal happenings at Waverly that have repeatedly been experienced with compelling similarity and frequency. So, one of the most well-known and most commonly seen apparitions is Timmy.
Oh, no.
Yep, bloody Timmy. So, he's...
There's always a Timmy.
There's always a Timmy.
There's always a Timmy.
Is Timmy a creepy name? I don't know. Is it...
I don't even think it's creepy.
It's not that creepy.
No.
It's kind of like cute creepy.
Yeah, it's like... And he's always got like a posh English accent. Hello.
Timmy. I'm Timmy.
Yeah, that's Timmy.
Well, it's believed that Timmy is the ghost of a young boy who still wanders the halls of Waverly Hills. It's thought that Timmy was part of the children's ward at Waverly Hills and passed away during his time there. He's often seen running through the corridors of the hospital, either playing with his own leather ball or seeking something or someone to play with.
Oh.
Guests will often bring a ball of their own for Timmy, only to subsequently see that same ball floating down the halls, being carried by invisible hands.
No.
Yeah,
nope.
That's that's a no for me.
Burn the
that's
building
a no
down.
for me.
It's gotta go.
Imagine seeing that, because there's a lot of footage of people, like pretty much everyone brings a ball for Timmy to play with. Yeah. And there's lots of footage of balls like suddenly being almost like kicked away or moved away.
Yeah.
So but cool. I didn't see any footage of it being carried away, but I could imagine that would be pretty freaky.
Sounds very active.
Yeah, very active. So Timmy seems to favour the 5th floor, which is essentially an open air roof, and was ironically the outdoor recreation area for the children who had been diagnosed with TB staying at Waverly. So that was kind of like the kids' play area.
Okay.
Pretty much. And there's photos of it, and there's like swing sets and stuff that. Yeah. So kid ghosts are inherently super creepy. For some reason, even more so than grown-up ghosts most of the time. So, sticking with the spooky child theme here, the next most commonly seen apparition is that of a cute little girl named Mary, who has no face.
Okay.
Yes, she's faceless. Beautiful. Cute.
What the fuck?
Yeah. So we don't know too much about her, other than it's thought that her name is Mary, and she appears in what looks like 1940s era clothing, and she peeks her creepy little faceless face around the corners to watch you, despite not having any eyes. She still watches you.
That's so bad. I think of that show for the 90s, the Australian show, that doll that had no face.
Lift off.
Oh
my God.
Just sat in a little dress.
I used to love that show so much.
That's all I was thinking of.
As an adult, I wrote into the ABC being like, bring back Liftoff, because
you? Good.
Yeah. And they wrote back, and they were like, so many people have contacted us to bring the show back, but we can't do it.
He was the hotel manager. He was like in everything. The guy with curly hair.
That bigger kind of, what's his name?
He was in so much stuff.
So for anyone who isn't Australian, Liftoff was like a children's show, but it was so scary. It had like faceless dolls, and it had like weird underground rat creature things, and it had like
90s kid shows were interesting. The Australian ones were very interesting.
They were fucked up.
Yeah, feral TV as well. I mean, I love it, but it's a very strange thing to think
I can't believe these are the shows that we grew up on. Maybe this is why we're into like the paranormal now.
I was taught that was normal when I was a child.
We're not
faceless dolls.
Yeah. So she doesn't seem to be dark or evil, but she just appears to follow you through the building, watching you in a playful manner. I do wonder, though, why she appears with the obvious lacking of facial features. Did something happen to her in life to leave her with injuries or scars to her face? Who knows? And what is she doing? Maybe she's searching for her friend Timmy to play ball with. Or is she actually something that is dark and evil, just pretending to be a cute little girl to lure you in?
Ooh, okay.
Yes, which is a thing that happens, apparently.
Yes, that's true.
Like
that's a real
dark,
spanner
sinister.
in the works.
Yeah. Either way, I wouldn't be getting too close to the faceless infant dressed in war-era clothing that's hiding in the abandoned, haunted hospital. Because she's creepy as fuck. Another spirit that has been seen more than a couple of times is an older woman, presumably someone who lived in the hospital after the TB Sanatorium had closed its doors and it was converted into a geriatric ward. She's a very old and sick-looking woman who is thin and hunched with blood coming from her wrists and ankles. She has been heard crying for help, but once approached, she disappears and a screaming can be heard as if she just runs away from you in fear.
Oh my God.
There have been, which is sad. That's sad because poor old woman. I don't know. Yeah. So the geriatric home apparently was really terrible, and it was shut down because of the conditions, because it was just so bad.
Yeah, I can imagine it would be horrible.
It was terrible, yeah. There have been numerous reports of this poor lady. Some have said that they've seen her with chains around her ankles and feet also, but for me, that just seems a bit too cliche and bordering on unrealistic, but you never know. There are already some pretty wild activities here, so anything is possible, I guess. Out of the hundreds of rooms at Waverly Hills, apparently one of the most active rooms out of all of these is room 502. But this is also the most disputed part of the property due to a lack of real-life records of the events that are said to have taken place in this room. It is said that a pregnant nurse took her life in this room and that her spirit lingers still to this day. Which is, very sad if it's true.
So sad.
There are EVPs in this area of the building simply yelling in a woman's voice, "Get out," as well as "Leave now." There are also rumours of a second nurse having jumped or fallen to her death from the window in this very same room. But nobody has ever found official reports of these deaths at Waverly Hills, which is the reason why it's disputed, because there's no records of it.
Yeah.
I personally don't think this means it absolutely, definitely, 100% didn't happen, especially considering that if deaths like this did happen at somewhere like Waverly Hills, that was such an esteemed hospital, it would more than likely not be in their best interest to disclose the details of these deaths in their records.
Yeah.
Especially considering that the pregnant nurse who apparently took her life in this room was pregnant because of the head doctor that worked at the sanatorium at the time. So that's a bit of controversy to kind of go along with it, So 502 is apparently the most haunted room. But what is the most haunted floor of the building? Floor number 4 is apparently the most active and where most people see apparitions. Visitors have seen countless shadow people in this area, more than any other kind of activity. So many visitors have seen these shadow people that they've been sorted into 3 categories: shadow, solid, and masses.
Ew.
Which is terrifying.
Masses,
yeah. This means that you see either a single shadow person, like your classic kind of shadow person, or you see a more solid figure that clearly looks human-like but is very, very black and dark, or you see a big humming black mass moving and staring at you. No, that sounds very sinister, and that sounds almost very unhuman-like as well. It doesn't sound human. Some believe these shadow people are evil entities, while others see them as manifestations of human spirit that once used to be as alive as you or I, albeit sick humans that lived at the sanatorium until their demise.
Yeah.
If Waverly Hills was a video game and the shadow people were the baddies, the creeper would surely be the end boss. He's only known simply as the Creeper due to its creeping, crawling movements up and around the walls, ceilings, and floors. How scary is that? This is the part when I was writing my story where I'm just when I was alone, I was like,
no
the Creeper.
way.
Yeah, it sounds very evil.
Yeah.
It's said that proximity to the Creeper brings with him an overwhelming feeling of dread. While there's no explanation for who or what the Creeper might be, some think he might have been a mistreated patient whose contorted appearance reflects the trauma they experienced in life. The idea that the creeper is a human spirit itself is a valid one, but his actions and the sense of foreboding experienced by those who encounter it would truly suggest otherwise. Most human spirits behave at least reasonably similar to the way they would act in real life, but the creeper seems to go beyond the norm. In the hospital, there is the solarium, and on the opposite side of that is the small, dark and bare terminal rooms where the doomed were moved to spend their last moments in their sickness. Yeah, so this is where they moved when the staff knew that they only had like a day or so left before they passed.
A grim room.
So just thinking about that space, and I'm like, I think it's extra sad and also creepy because I'm sure they didn't put too much effort into this room. And so I'm kind of imagining
didn't even
like
put the lights on.
No, I'm imagining like a dank, just bare room with not much attention, you know. I could be wrong, but I'm imagining it just to be a pretty miserable place.
Yeah, same.
This area of the hospital seems to be the lair or the nest of the creeper. Is he lingering in this area because he's attracted to the pain and suffering that was experienced by patients in the last moments of their lives? It's thought that a bad omen or a negative elemental is born from tragedy and pain. Is it perhaps even a demonic spirit? It sounds either way not good, you know, that it's attracted to the dark, like the pain, you know, that resides there. Demonic spirits are apparently attracted to locations where many human spirits linger, and Waverly Hills certainly has no shortage there. Maybe the creeper is something else entirely, an ancient spiritual entity. By any means, the creeper carries an aura of doom felt by anyone who crosses its path. To spot the creeper at Waverly Hills is surely one of the most frightening encounters a person could have at the facility. It really is a lot of darkness for a place founded on the principle of fighting disease with brightness and sunshine, juxtaposed.
Absolutely.
Briefly, just a few more prominent but not heavily documented occurrences at Waverly includes the enticing smell of food mysteriously wafting through the building. Yeah, which is different. Like, you do hear of smells being a thing at some haunted locations, but yeah, food. I wouldn't have picked food. Yeah. I thought maybe
they had
like
a really good cook.
Maybe it was a very esteemed hospital that was regarded very highly. So another one is a ghostly hearse that drives up and drops off coffins near the building, which is it's quite different to your usual ghostly sightings. These are just a few examples of the apparitions that haunt Waverly Hills. There is so much more than what I've told. It seems like every single person that enters Waverly Hills truly experiences something just life-changing. It's almost like the spirit activity seems to happen every day at Waverly Hills Sanatorium, as if the ghosts just need to be noticed in fear of just fading out with history. So it's a very sad place. Yeah. What do you reckon? How do you feel?
I love that. When you're talking, I was like, you know, it's all coming back to me. I've definitely heard of this place because of the amount of ghost hunting shows I've watched in the past.
Oh, it's so well known.
Yeah, but it is funny because you obviously don't really pick up on the history as much when you're watching those shows. You're like, where are the EVPs? Come on.
Show me the fucking,
Yeah. I mean, I'm definitely going to be looking more into this because I want to see the death chute, first of all. And I want to see how big this building is.
It's huge.
The creeper is terrifying. Are there any images of anyone?
So there's one, this isn't of the creeper, but there's one image that is kind of like the most famous image taken there. And it's of a woman. You can clearly see a woman. Like but she's not solid like a human. You can see that she's kind of like partially translucent. Is that the right term?
That's cool.
And so I don't know if there's any photos of the creeper. I actually didn't look too much. It was mainly like
in the daytime because it's nighttime now, and I think maybe in the morning I'll do that.
Don't watch any like footage of this place in
true.
Like,
actually,
at nighttime.
I don't want to see a death chute before I go to sleep.
Oh my god! Wait until the day because it is so like even just seeing the the footage without any paranormal shit is very creepy because it's super rundown.
That's so interesting. I love the history of all these buildings though, and I love to hear the history and then hear the encounters because I think you need to understand it all to really get scared.
To get a grasp of it, yeah. I think if we were a history podcast, I would probably like still tell the story of like Waverly Hills.
Absolutely.
It's such a especially this time of history, the tuberculosis time, because especially in like Kentucky, the weather there, it's moist and hot, and that caused the tuberculosis to just go fucking crazy in Kentucky. And so this is why they set up Waverly Hills, is because Kentucky was just not doing good
to
with
get
tuberculosis.
It up in the air and get that's really
exactly yeah. So and just the amount of deaths. They reckon at one point at the hospital there was one person dying every hour.
Oh fuck!
Because it like tuberculosis was essentially like a death sentence before penicillin and the vaccines and stuff.
I mean, even here, like all the old buildings here, like it used to be a tuberculosis hospital.
Yes.
Like, okay.
It's everywhere. It was so bad. Yeah, and it was an awful way to go as well because it just killed your lungs as well.
Sounds horrible.
In the hospital, they actually did these really awful operations on people where they would remove a rib and then so that your lung had more space to breathe. They thought this was helping, but it actually made it worse.
That's traumatic.
Well. Yeah. Yes, and they would they would remove part of the lung, and like nothing like that was ever effective, but they were just doing like anything they could to try and like help patients,
God bless them.
God bless them. And
they tried.
They tried. They also put like these patients out in the snow, like no matter what kind of conditions, like weather conditions, they just wanted them out in like the fresh air. So even if it was snowing, they would put these patients out in the snow.
Just get some fresh air, you'll be fine.
You'll be right. Just some sunshine and fresh air. Good vibes only.
That is wild. That was such a good story.
Yeah, thank you. I had fun researching this one, and I'm glad that I got to find a like haunted, ghostly location that wasn't just like slamming doors. Like there's repetitively similar accounts of the same thing.
The spooky ghost ones.
It is, which is a shame. Yeah, those are like my favorite kinds of like paranormal stories. It's just like the haunted houses. I'm like addicted to ghost hunting shows, so I'll have to find some more ghostly ones. Well, that was a very fun episode.
Yeah, I agree. That was
two really good stories.
Yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed it. Please follow us on our social media.
Yeah, do it.
If you want to follow along, look at the pictures when we're talking about our stories. Definitely important to look at those pictures. And also leave a review.
Leave a review.
Podcast app you're using.
It helps us so much.
Yeah. Spotify, you can't leave a review, but just follow us and that makes... It's the same thing.
Also, I don't know because we do record these a little bit ahead of time, but I know last time I checked, Pandora, the podcasting platform, still was processing our podcast. So and we're out on like all podcasting platforms like Apple and Google Play and all that, but Pandora is still processing. So if you're a Pandora user, I'm sorry that we haven't been on there yet, but hopefully soon. It takes a long time for them to process your
they'll catch up.
Submitted. But awesome. Thanks so much for listening this week. We look forward to talking at you next week.
Yeah, we'll talk to you then.
Bye.
Bye.
This episode of Spooky Mountain was created and recorded on land of the original custodians, the Gundungurra and Bidjigal people. We pay respects to the past, present, and emerging mob. My name is Jordi, and I'm a proud Gunya woman. Thank you for listening.